Any other takeaways? I guess we'll mention Rodriguez's performance. See, it's difficult for me to say that's the best game that a player has ever played in a Canadian Premier League final, because there's been some great performances, because oftentimes the game didn't completely resemble football. It was more like a snowball fight. But in terms of like owning the moment, I mean, I don't think that we've ever experienced moments like that. And we include an Olympico in a CPL final and other incredible moments. That has to be a standalone performance, and one that will go down for the ages.
Yeah, Rodriguez individually, the match itself, if you want to call it best, if you want to call it most iconic, call it what you want to call it. But there's never been anything like that, I don't think, in CPL history. That's pretty clear. And I got another best, which is, I think you can make a very good case, and I would make the case. I'll be interested to hear what you think, Wheels, that's the best single season by a club in Canadian Premier League history from Atletico Ottawa. They win the North Star Cup. They do it going unbeaten at home all year long. Record-breaking number of goals obviously scored in the regular season. They do it with a near unprecedented number of U21 minutes, certainly for a team that's actually competing at the top end of the table. And even the Shields, like with their points total, they win the Shield in 5 out of 7 seasons in Canadian Premier League history, right? They just happen to play in one where forwards are exceptional as well. I don't know another resume in a single campaign that you can put up next to what Atletico Ottawa did this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Right after the final whistle, we do our post-match coverage. The trophy's presented, and I went down to the field to congratulate the principals. And I see Diego Mejia, who's done just an amazing job this season. Yeah. Quite frankly, like, with all due respect to Bobby Smirniotis, Diego Mejia had my vote for Coach of the Year, and he turned to be best season in CPL history. And I thought he was just talking about the banter that he threw it all season long, like we were the best team. But then he started to rhyme it off. Only 3 losses all season, undefeated at home. Like, he was going down the list of accomplishments, and I was just nodding away. I said, okay, it's hard for me to argue otherwise. I know there's always going to be recency bias. I still think that the best performance, considering the conditions, was in 2021 and the run that Forge went on. They were playing coming out of COVID in a truncated season, playing every 3 days. They won the regular season. They went through this incredible run in CONCACAF League as well. And they landed from Honduras, what was it, like 2.5 days before they played in the North Star Cup final at home and lost. Like, that's that team and what they were able to accomplish. And it requires a little bit more explanation, I think, because they didn't win the cup at the end of the day. But that's the team I was still the most in awe of at the moment, considering the time coming out of COVID and what that whole season looked like. And I'm not taking anything away from that Atletico Ottawa team this year, but that will still stick with me, because we were really living in a different world. It was a much different place at that time.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable year for them, and it was earlier as well when the league was, coming out of COVID, and so to go and compete on the continental stage like they did while still winning the CPL regular season was something special. They didn't win the cup, right? Which is always going to be, can it be the best CPL season ever?
Honduras, like, they didn't have a week off. Like, it was like the cards were stacked against them. That's why, if they could do it again.
But when in retrospect, you're defining what's the best season in CPL history, I think you got to have the trophy at the end of it, whatever the circumstances are. So that's why I'd lean towards Atletico Ottawa. No question what Forge did in 2021 in terms of the journey to get there was equally as impressive.
I know this is getting a little bit lengthy, but I do want to give a shout out to the Atletico Ottawa fans. Like, man, they were brilliant on the night. I was like a football player coming off the field. As I was going inside to warm up my feet, I was clapping for them, and they deserve all the credit in the world. Not just staying in their seat, they were brilliant, creating atmosphere, embracing the conditions. They were outstanding. Shout out to Nathan Ingham. I mean, a day oneer in the CPL, all week long. I thought he was brilliant, but that shovel moment, oh, Matt, like. That was genius. Shout out to all these under 21 fullbacks on their team. These players play beyond their years. I know that Noah Botnick gets a lot of credit, but Lloyd Cloutier, like he's my guy, man. Like I just love the way that he plays. The emotion from Gabby Antonoro, the commitment of Kevin DeSantos. Manny Aparicio probably was the second best player on the field playing in those conditions. That guy just has an engine. Just this whole team, Koke, Balou, like, man, this whole team. My guy Sam Salter posed with a picture after. Sammy, I need that picture doing the salt. Like, man, like I can't say enough about this group and what we experienced. And I do also want to say that Cavalry can keep their heads held high. Like, I'm coming out of that game feeling like they didn't lose. They just didn't win. That's what makes it so difficult. Like, they can look back and say, well, yeah, we might have not won the North Star Cup that day, but were they a better team than us? I don't know, just based upon the conditions. But they're a first-class organization. They're a club that deserves that kind of spotlight. And unfortunately for them, they're kind of the subtext, but they shouldn't be. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that there's a massive tip of the cap to everyone involved with that Cavalry club and and how they performed on the field. And still, they continue to set the bar incredibly high. I'm really proud of what they did on that day as well.
Yeah, I agreed with that. I think you do also have to say, or I'd say with Atletico Ottawa, like when we were talking in the build-up about if the conditions are bad and it's difficult to play football, who does that favor? Everyone thought it would favor Cavalry, right? More experienced team, played in those types of conditions more, better on set pieces. So it was a big surprise to me to see Atletico just deal with it as well as they did. And obviously we talked about how good Rodriguez was, but, surviving kind of an aerial bombardment and playing through those conditions, you would have thought would have massively favored Cavalry over Atletico. So it was just another aspect that was impressive to me that Atletico showed to become champions.
Any other takeaways before we wrap this up? We've turned this into more of a podcast here, Oliver Platt.
Let's move on. I could talk about it all day.
Yeah. I just want to say I'm really proud of everyone involved with the Canadian Premier League. Look, nothing has come easy for this league with COVID and all these other curveballs that are being thrown our way, but we just keep ticking. And now it's incumbent on everyone that cares about soccer, football in this country to build off this iconic final and a wonderful moment. Look, oftentimes the dollars and cents of the game are talked about. I said this on the broadcast. I'll repeat this today. $20 million in marketing dollars couldn't pay for what 20 centimeters of snow provided. And now it's about all of us to keep this going and build this forward so more sensational, quintessential Canadian sporting moments can be created under the banner of the Canadian Premier League.